Welcome to the Wife Stories YouTube channel. New video every day, and don't forget to subscribe. Here we go.
I haven't touched a cigarette in 10 years. Not since my father's funeral, when everything felt as though it was sliding into a black hole. But here I am, leaning against the cold brick wall behind my office building, flicking the lighter with shaky fingers, forcing stale smoke into my lungs. My teeth clench around the filter. The first drag feels like sandpaper, and I cough so hard I'm worried someone will hear. Part of me hopes they do. Part of me wants the entire world to see that I'm on the edge of something I might never come back from. I can't believe how fast my heart is pumping. It's that feeling you get when you realize everything you trusted has rotted from the inside out. My whole body trembles, not just from the nicotine hit after years without it, but from what I saw, from what I can't unsee. I suck another lungful of smoke, stare at the dim orange glow of the street lamp overhead, and see her face in my mind. Her face and his, pressed together. I want to throw up. My stomach is somewhere in my throat, but I push it down and force the smoke out in one long exhale. I'm trying to calm myself, but my heart's hammering like a machine gun. I'm supposed to be inside finishing up my shift, monitoring the security systems for the company's West Coast branches. A stable, well-paying job that was always my source of pride. I used to think that, at the very least, I had my professional life in order. That was before I stumbled on the sight of Rebecca, my wife, my partner for 10 years, locking lips and bodies with someone else. And not just a friend or a coworker. No, a man I've seen a handful of times at local coffee shops, a man whose face I can't scrub out of my memory. Dressed in a black leather jacket, hair tied back in a small bun, leaning close as though they were made for each other. The worst part is, I can't wipe the image away. It replays every time I blink. One more drag, then I flick the butt onto the ground, half smoked, half squashed. The world reels around me. I lean my forehead against the wall. 10 years. 10 years I believed we were both working on building a life, a future, something. I gave her trust. That trust is now a joke. I compose myself enough to walk back inside. My colleague waves from his desk. I nod, probably looking like I've come back from a funeral, and sink into my chair. The computers hum. The overhead fluorescent buzzes. I stare at lines of code on the monitor, but everything's a blur. My mind is fixated on that moment. I'd left home early, told her I needed to pick up a new external hard drive for a late-night system upgrade. I was going to be in the neighborhood of her yoga studio. She texted me to say she was staying late after class, maybe going for coffee with a friend. I had a silly notion I'd surprise her. Maybe swing by, say hi, share a latte for a few minutes. But I got more than I bargained for. I turned the corner to the small street next to her yoga class and saw them standing in the half-dark, arms around each other, her head tilted back, lips parted, and him leaning in. The unmistakable arch of her back, a slight moan I recognized, even from yards away. I froze. It felt like ice water was poured into my veins. My stomach lurched, and I thought, this can't be real. Then her eyes opened mid-kiss, and she glanced in my direction, wide-eyed, terrified. She jerked away, leaving him looking confused. For 2 agonizing seconds, we locked eyes. I saw guilt flash across her face. I saw panic and a flicker of indignation, as though she were ready to explain it away. I turned and left without a word. I hopped back into my car and drove. I didn't even know where I was going. Just away from that scene. Away from her. All I could feel was the roaring in my ears and the pressure in my chest. At some point, I found myself at the office parking lot. That's how I ended up leaning against the wall with a cigarette for the first time in 10 years. Now, hours later, with my shift nearly done, I'm searching my pockets for gum or mints because she hates the smell of smoke. And that thought, her hating the smell, sends me into a small fit of bitter laughter. She can hate it all she wants, I think. Hates me smoking. Hates me not being spontaneous. Hates me for being boring, right? I remember how she used to say, We've become an old married couple too soon. We need more excitement. I didn't realize excitement meant hooking up with some random guy. Eventually, I give up on the idea of finishing any real work tonight. I shut the computer down, gather my things, and drive home. I take the long route. The traffic is minimal, but my hands are locked on the steering wheel. By the time I pull into the driveway, I'm exhausted from the tension. The house is dark. Our little suburban place in Seattle. Once upon a time, it was my pride. I paid that down payment after years of working nights, saving up every spare dollar. I step inside, flick on the light in the entryway, see her shoes by the door. She's home. Or at least she came back. I inhale, wanting to remain calm, but every nerve in my body is alive, furious. My heart knocks so loudly in my chest I swear she'll hear it. I head upstairs. She's in bed. Our bed. Under the covers. I see the shape of her shoulder, the angle of her body. She's facing away from me. I drop my jacket on the chair. Part of me wants to yank the covers away, drag her up, and scream in her face, "Explain this. Explain yourself." But I can't. I feel a tightness in my throat. If I open my mouth, God knows what I'll say. So I leave her be. Instead, I take my phone and change the password on my email. Something petty, but I need to feel in control. I type no_trust as the new password. And it's so on the nose I almost laugh. Then I toss the phone onto the nightstand and stare at the ceiling, not sleeping a wink. In the morning, Rebecca moves in the sheets, and I hear her exhale. She knows. She must. She saw my face. She saw me see them. The tension is excruciating. Then she sits up, rubs her eyes, and says, "Michael, about last night." "Save it." I snap, my voice harsh. I feel an unfamiliar bite in my tone. I used to speak gently with her, used to soothe her anxieties. That's done. I'm heading to work early. She flinches, looks down. Her hair is tangled, her eyes rimmed with fatigue. But I catch a flicker of defiance. "We need to talk eventually." "Do we?" I murmur, already pulling on my clothes. "It's all pretty obvious." She sighs, opening her mouth like she wants to explain. Then she shuts it. Good. I don't want to hear half-lies about how it just happened, or it was only once, or it doesn't mean anything, or that she's sorry. I slam the front door on my way out, my head throbbing. My temples pound like they're about to explode. Days pass in a haze. She tries to talk to me. She brings up the subject over dinner, or in the hallway, but I shut her down. I can't look at her without imagining those parted lips and that other man's hands on her waist. Every time I blink, I see it, so I say very little. If I speak, I'll scream. So I hold it in. I go through the motions at work, ignoring concerned looks from colleagues. I bury myself in system updates, code checks, and meeting after meeting. At night, the silence in the house is worse than any argument. She sleeps in the guest room after day 3. Good. I don't want her near me. But I also hate that quiet distance. It's like I'm stuck in some purgatory. No words, no closure, just emptiness. Then I find her application form on the coffee table one day. She left it out, or forgot to put it away. It's for a course called Psychology in Relationships. My first thought, maybe she's trying to fix things. Maybe she regrets it all. I skim the pages, see her handwriting on one question. "Why do you cheat?" And she wrote, with that neat, swirling signature of hers, "So I don't explode." I read it again. Once. Twice. The words burn into my mind. So I don't explode. My hands shake. I tear the corner of the page from gripping it too tight. I swallow, tears stinging behind my eyes, but rage boiling in my veins. She cheats to avoid exploding. Is that supposed to be an explanation for breaking marriage vows? For humiliating me? I toss the form back onto the table. A deep, cold emptiness opens inside me. I walk upstairs, log onto my laptop, open my email. I see an unread message from her. I hover over it. Then I drag it to trash. No, I can't even look at what she wrote. I open my password settings. I change it again to no_dignity. Then I slam the laptop shut. I want to break something. Instead, I go out to the backyard, stand in the fall chill, and let the numbness spread through me. The next morning, I do something I never imagined. I file for divorce. No arguments, no dramatic confrontation. I contact a lawyer recommended by a friend at work and sign the initial paperwork. That evening, I set the documents in front of her on the kitchen table, so she'll see them the moment she gets home. She cries when she sees them. Real tears. I watch them roll down her cheeks, watch her chest heave. She tries to speak, but I cut her off. I don't want to hear it. This is insane, she says through sobs. We can't just throw everything away, Michael. You did, I say, my voice deathly quiet. The night you kissed him. The moment you decided you needed to cheat so you wouldn't explode. Whatever the hell that means. She collapses into a chair. She buries her face in her hands. Part of me wants to feel sorry for her, but another part of me is screaming inside. She's the one who betrayed me. Why should I comfort her? I stand there for a moment, letting the silence stretch. Then I grab my coat. I'll be home late. I say, don't wait up. I'm gone before she can reply. It would have ended like that, maybe quietly. But we live in a civilized society, or so they say, and when I file for divorce, the court sets a mandatory requirement in our county for mediation if there's any dispute. The judge, seeing irreconcilable differences and hearing only minimal details, decides to push us toward mandatory couples therapy. Go to at least 3 sessions, he tells us, then come back, and I'll finalize the divorce if that's still what you want. We shuffle out of the courtroom, not even looking at each other. I'm so furious with the system. Why do I have to go through this charade? She cheated. Let me go. Let me sign the final line and get the hell out. Rebecca says nothing as we ride home together. She insists on driving, maybe to prove something. I stare out the window, remembering the honeymoon we took in Hawaii, her laugh at the beach, the playful way she teased me for being too protective of my luggage. It feels like 100 years ago. The first therapy session is surreal. We sit on a small couch in a cramped office, across from a middle-aged therapist with a gentle expression and too many diplomas on the wall. Rebecca's wearing a scarf, one I bought her on a trip to Seattle's Pike Place Market. She says she liked the pattern. I used to love seeing her in it. Now it just mocks me, a reminder of a time when I still believed in us. I force a tight smile, try to be polite. The therapist introduces himself, some name I barely register. I glance sideways at my wife. Her eyes flick over to me, uncertain. There's tension in her posture. The therapist asks, "What brings you here?" I almost laugh. "A judge," I say plainly. The therapist nods. "Understood. But it's helpful for me to know the main issues you've been facing." Rebecca hesitates, looks down. "We're here because I made a mistake," she begins softly. I cut her off. "Because you needed to not explode, right? Because that's the line you used." My voice is laced with sarcasm. But I can't help it. The memory of her writing that is like a knife in my gut. She flushes, grips the edge of the scarf. "I didn't mean for you to see that," she mumbles. "That's the problem, isn't it?" I reply, my tone cold. "You didn't mean for me to see, but you still did it." The therapist interjects gently. "Let's try to keep the conversation constructive." "How?" I snap. "She cheated. I want out. End of story." Rebecca's eyes flick up. And for a moment, I see pain and regret. But also I see that flicker of defiance again. She opens her mouth, closes it, fiddles with her scarf. My mind drifts to the moment she called me boring a year ago, when I tried to plan a quiet anniversary dinner. "You're so predictable," she'd said. I need more excitement. Those words are seared into my memory like a brand. The therapist tries to diffuse the tension, but it's a lost cause. We limp through the session, mostly in silence. Rebecca manages to say, "I'm sorry," once or twice. I stare at the floor. I can't trust anything that comes out of her mouth now. Finally, we wrap up and schedule the next session. On the way out, she tries to walk beside me. I keep my distance. As we step into the hallway, she asks softly, "You want to grab a coffee before we go home?" I turn to her, my chest tight. "Remember how you once told me you hated that coffee shop I like because it was too quiet? You said it made you feel bored. Well, guess what? I'm done catering to your need for excitement." She inhales sharply, stung. Her lips quiver. Then she just nods and walks away. By the second session, the anger in me has solidified into something sharper, more controlled. I greet the therapist politely, settle into my chair, and watch my wife from the corner of my eye. She's looking worn. Her eyes have dark circles beneath them, and she picks at a loose thread on her skirt. I notice she's not wearing any ring. My stomach twists. Did she take it off because she wants out, or because she feels unworthy to wear it? The therapist starts with a simple question. "How have you both been feeling since our last meeting?" I answer first. "I've been feeling clarity," I say, forcing calm. "I know what I want. A fresh start. Away from this." I glance at Rebecca. She flinches. "You haven't let me explain anything," she says quietly. "Don't you want to know why? Or how I cut her off again. I can't stand the half apologies. "I want to know why you looked down on me. Why you called me boring when all I did was try to provide stability. Why you forgot my birthday last year because you were too busy on your phone with God knows who. Why, after everything, you act like I'm the problem for not being exciting enough." Rebecca's face flushes. She opens her mouth. "That's not." She stops. She can't form the words. Her eyes dart to the therapist, seeking support maybe. I keep going, my voice dangerously controlled. "You remember that time at dinner? We were supposed to celebrate our 10th anniversary, and you spent half the meal scrolling your phone texting. You told me you needed more stimulation. Remember that? Well, did you find it with him?" Her eyes shine with tears. Her jaw sets. She seems torn between defending herself and confessing. "I'm sorry," she manages. I felt empty, Michael. That stings. I stand up, ignoring the therapist's attempt to calm me. "I felt empty too, Rebecca, but I tried to fill that emptiness with you, with our marriage. Not with some guy you met in a coffee shop." She bursts into tears. The therapist steps in, motioning me to sit back down. I do, but my leg bounces with nervous energy. I want to walk out, to never see her again. But there's a piece of me that can't stop staring at her, can't stop remembering the good times, can't stop wishing we'd found a better path. She stammers through an explanation about feeling stifled, about wanting to explore who she is outside of marriage. She mentions that she signed up for the psychology in relationships class precisely because she felt something was wrong inside her. The words mix into a haze of regret and rationalization. I can't decide which is which. After the session, we walk out together again, awkwardly. This time, the tension is suffocating. I see her shoulders slump, see her rummage in her purse for keys. I almost feel pity. Then I remember that image of her, arms wrapped around him, and pity turns to ice. I walk away without a word. The third session is the last one mandated by the judge, but the therapist tries to push for more. We both decline. She arrives wearing the scarf I got her in Seattle. That same damned scarf. It's like she's trying to remind me of a kinder memory. I'm determined not to cave. We sit there, and for the first few minutes, I act civil. I even crack a short joke about traffic. She tries to smile, but it's forced. The therapist raises a question. "What is it you truly want, moving forward?" I straighten in my chair. My voice is measured. "I want to live. I say, without guilt, without feeling like I have to earn my partner's love by constantly performing. I sense her look at me, expectant, maybe hoping I'll add, with you, or some sign of reconciliation. But I don't. For the first time in years, I speak just for me. She blinks rapidly, tears forming. Her voice quivers. I still love. I can't hold back. My anger flares hot. Don't you dare say you love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have needed to cheat so you wouldn't explode. My tone is like a whip. She flinches. She tries to argue. That phrase, you're using it against me. I was just trying to say I felt suffocated. I cut her off, voice rising. Suffocated. By what? By a loyal husband who gave you everything. By a stable life you called boring. You want excitement. Well, you have it now. You want to see how exciting it is to lose a decade of trust in one night. Congratulations. She starts to cry again, her hands shaking. Michael, please. I'm sorry. I know I hurt you and I was confused. I thought you didn't care about me. I bark a laugh that holds no humor. Me? Not care. I changed my entire life for you. I moved across the country. I worked late shifts. I gave up time with my own family so we could build something here. And you thought I didn't care. Silence drapes over the room like a heavy curtain. The therapist looks between us, struggling to find the right words. But it's too far gone. We've crossed a line. There's no going back. The therapist eventually ventures. What about your shared memories? Your love that once brought you together? Are those feelings completely gone? I let out a breath. They're memories. They belong to a different time. In this time, right now, all I feel is betrayal. I look at Rebecca. I'd forgive you if it was just a mistake, but it isn't. You made a choice to see me as an obstacle to your excitement. That's the part I can't live with. I won't live with. Her mouth trembles, but she can't form a response. The therapist nods solemnly, as though he expected this. He thanks us for coming, says he's available if we decide to continue. I know I won't. I stand, smooth my shirt, and walk to the door. She follows silently. We leave the building side by side. The air is cold, a drizzle starting. I pull my jacket tight around me. She clutches that scarf. She whispers, Michael, can we talk alone? I consider it. Then I nod. Fine. 5 minutes, I say. I lead her to my car, open the passenger door for her. She sits inside, hands folded in her lap. I slide behind the wheel. We're both silent a moment. The rain taps softly on the roof. She starts in a low, subdued voice. I never meant to break you like this. I was lost, feeling like I was suffocating in a life that seemed so predictable. You're a good man, Michael. You are. But I felt invisible. She takes a shaky breath. Then I met Daniel. My teeth clench. That's the first time she said his name in front of me. Daniel. My heart hammers. She continues, and it was like someone saw me again. Saw my spontaneity, my passion, and I got swept up. I'm not saying it's right. It's not. It was wrong. I'm just trying to explain. I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, and it scared me and excited me. She looks at me, tears on her lashes. I hurt you, and I hurt us. If I could go back, I would do things differently. I'd talk to you, tell you I needed help, that I wanted therapy or space or something. But I can't undo it now. I stare at the steering wheel. My hands tighten. I feel a surge of sorrow, also anger, hatred, and behind it all, a twisted form of pity for both of us. You said you felt invisible. I whisper. Do you have any idea how invisible I felt every time you looked at your phone during dinner, every time you tuned me out? And yet, I stuck around. I tried harder. Maybe that was my mistake. I tried so damned hard that you took me for granted. She reaches out, places a trembling hand on my arm. I flinch but don't pull away. It's too late, I say, the words dry in my mouth. It's done. She closes her eyes. I know. Silence. The rain intensifies. She sniffles, wiping her cheeks, and I start the engine. I drive her home. We don't speak the entire ride. Her hand rests in her lap, and I catch her twisting her scarf in her fingers. There's no more illusions. I park in the driveway. She steps out, and just before she closes the door, she says, "I never wanted it to come to this." Then she shuts it gently. I watch her walk up to the porch, shoulders hunched against the rain. I can't feel anything except a gaping numbness. We come back to court. The judge sees the therapy session notes, some obligatory forms, and asks, "Is there any reconciliation possible?" I stand there in the quiet hum of the courtroom, glancing at Rebecca. Her eyes are on me, shining with a last flicker of hope. That old part of me, the one that spent a decade cherishing her, stirs. But I recall the image of her entwined with someone else. I remember the shallow compliments, the apathy, the vacant stares. I remember how she wrote to avoid exploding. So I exhale and say, "No, we're done." The judge accepts it. Papers shuffle. Signatures come next. She signs with trembling fingers. I sign quickly. My pen strokes are short and final. The judge says he'll finalize the divorce in a few days, that we'll receive notices in the mail. The gavel is a dull thud in an otherwise empty room. I stand. She stands. We exchange no words. She leaves first. Her footsteps echo, and I keep my eyes on the polished wooden floor, letting her go. By the time I walk out, she's already gone. The sky is a washed-out gray. I realize I have nowhere in particular I want to be. Work can wait. Life can wait. I wander the streets near the courthouse, end up at a small park. The bare trees rattle overhead, shedding the last of their leaves onto the damp grass. I sit on a bench, my hands in my pockets, and think about how easily a decade of life can collapse. Then, for no reason, my mind flashes to the good times. Our wedding day, her laugh, the way she used to nudge me awake in the morning, all warm and intimate. My chest tightens. I wonder, could I have done something differently? Could I have saved us? I grit my teeth. She's the one who kissed him. She's the one who found me so uninteresting that she risked everything for a cheap thrill. That's what I tell myself to stay angry. Because anger is easier than heartbreak. My phone buzzes. I see her name on the screen. I can't bear to answer. I let it go to voicemail. Another beep follows. She left a message. I consider deleting it unheard. Instead, I put the phone on silent and slip it back into my pocket. I don't want to let her voice back into my head. Days turn into weeks. The final decree arrives in the mail, confirming the end of our marriage. I open the envelope in the living room. The emptiness of the place is suffocating. Everything reminds me of her presence, of the times we were happy and times we fought. The couch we picked out together. The paint color she insisted on for the walls. The dishes still in the cupboard. I run my thumb over the raised seal on the paper. It feels unreal. 10 years dissolved. I crumple onto the couch, the document still in my hand. It's official. We're no longer husband and wife. I keep expecting to feel relief, like some kind of liberation, but a tear slides down my face. I let it. I let them all out. Eventually, I push myself off the couch, make a call to a realtor. I decide to sell the house. There's nothing left for me here. My lawyer will handle the practical division of assets. I guess she'll walk away with her share. Fine. I don't want anything from her. All I want is to move forward. Free. But I'm not free from the memories. They follow me everywhere. In the grocery store, I see a brand of coffee she loved. I freeze. My chest hurts. In the morning, I wake up half thinking she's in the kitchen. Then I remember, she's gone. If I walk by a couple holding hands, I feel a spike of bitterness that I can't control. This is the aftermath. This is the reality of broken trust. I look for distractions. I sign up for volunteer shifts at an animal shelter on weekends. I teach myself new software coding languages. Sometimes I wander the city alone with my thoughts. And at night, I wrestle with the question, is the betrayal worse, or is the indifference that came before it even more painful? I realize the part that kills me isn't just her with another man. It's how she let me slip into irrelevance, that her heart drifted away long before she acted on it. The actual kiss was just a final step. That's the real wound. Being invisible to the person who once claimed to love you. The last time I see Rebecca is in a final therapy follow-up. Ironically, the therapist wanted a single post-divorce session to help us close the loop. I almost refused, but somehow I end up there. I guess I'm hoping for some final sense of closure, or maybe just to show her I'm not destroyed. She walks in, her hair pulled back. She looks thinner, sadder. She gives me a tight nod. I nod back. We sit down. The therapist glances between us. "Thank you both for coming," he says gently. "I know this may be difficult, but perhaps we can find a constructive way to move on." I shrug. "I'm here. That's all I've got." She's the one who speaks first, voice wavering. "I'm so deeply sorry for everything." Her words are quiet, her eyes downcast. "I know it can't fix the pain I caused, but I need you to know how truly sorry I am." I say nothing. I swallow hard, stare at the floor. My anger's no longer as raw as before, but I still feel a deep sting. She continues, I still can't believe how much I messed things up. I hurt you, and that kills me." I look at her at last. "You once said you needed to cheat to keep from exploding." I murmur. "Have you found relief from that pressure now?" My voice is dry, even a little cruel. "But I need to know." She flinches. I realize that was the wrong way to handle everything. I should have told you I was struggling. I should have asked for help instead of running to someone else. I'm working on it with my own therapist now." I nod, not trusting myself to speak. The therapist tries to guide us to express final thoughts, to share any parting words. Eventually, I let out a slow breath. I meet her gaze. I regret that we lost each other. We had some good years, some good moments, and I'm sorry we let it break like this. Her eyes fill with tears. She whispers, "Me too. I wish we'd both seen the cracks sooner." I give a small shrug. My voice is calmer than I feel. "I hope you figure out who you are, or what you need. I'm not that person anymore. I can't be." She nods, fresh tears slipping down her cheeks. I understand. The therapist quietly wraps up the session. We stand, gather our things. She lingers by the door, as if there's one last thing to say. I wait, but she says nothing. She just gives me a trembling smile, then walks away. That's it. I watch her go, feeling hollow but oddly at peace. Selling the house goes relatively quickly. Seattle's market is hot. I find a small apartment to rent downtown, something simpler. Fewer memories, fewer ghosts. My new place is on the 3rd floor of a brick building near a coffee shop that's never too crowded. I sip a latte there one morning, scanning job boards, considering a fresh start with a new company. My phone buzzes. It's a text from her. "House sale completed. Paperwork final. Thanks for everything. I wish you peace. R." I stare at it for a moment. Then I delete it. I walk out onto the street, watching people hustle by under the crisp winter sky. The air feels open, if a bit lonely. I notice a cigarette stand at the corner store. For a split second, I'm tempted. I picture myself leaning against a wall, exhaling all the bitterness. But I remember the feeling of that smoke scraping my throat. I remember that day I first saw her with him, how the cigarette tasted like despair. No, I won't go back to that place. I keep walking. Months pass. Life finds a new rhythm. I stop by the old animal shelter some Saturdays, playing with the dogs, helping them find homes. I settle into my new apartment. I even meet up with some coworkers for a drink now and then. I keep hearing from mutual friends that Rebecca's doing some sort of self-discovery journey, traveling between workshops. I only half listen. We have no reason to talk anymore. We're done. Sometimes, I still wake up at night, sweaty and disoriented, my heart pounding with the memory of her betrayal. But it's easier than it used to be. That raw, ripping agony is dulled to a throbbing ache, and I know I'll survive it. One evening, I find myself rummaging in my closet for old papers, and I stumble on an old photo. It's from our second anniversary. We're both smiling on the deck of a ferry, the Seattle skyline behind us. We look so young. My arms around her waist, her head leans on my shoulder. The memory hits me. I feel a pang, but not the searing pain anymore. I run my thumb over the glossy surface, then slide it back into the box. She's a memory now, part of my past. And I realize something. The scariest part wasn't discovering the affair, or even watching our love die. The scariest part was how indifferent we both became, how we let the small disconnections grow. We lost each other long before that kiss. She drifted, and I didn't notice, or I refused to see it. But I'm still here. I'm still me. And now, I'm determined not to let anyone's indifference define me again. I sit down at my small dining table in the apartment, open my laptop, stare at the blank document. I feel an urge to type something, to say something about what I've been through. The words come slowly at first, but then they start to flow. About trust, about heartbreak, about picking myself up. About how sometimes we kill love with monotony, or how sometimes love was never as strong as we believed. I'm not sure what I'll do with these words, but I type them anyway, letting each line pour out the residue of pain still clinging to my bones. Hours pass. Eventually, I close the laptop. The city lights glow outside the window, and I watch the cars below, the people moving through their own lives, carrying their own secrets. My phone lies silent on the table. I'm not waiting for it to ring. I feel tired, but calmer than I have in a long time. In the end, she cheated. She said it was to keep from exploding. Maybe that was her reason. Maybe it was an excuse. But I don't need to figure her out anymore. I need to figure out me. And for the first time in a long while, I feel ready to live without guilt, without chasing approval, without waiting for someone else to decide that I matter. Because I do. I matter, all on my own. Tomorrow, I'll wake up, make some coffee, go for a walk in my new neighborhood, and maybe sign up for a cooking class or something I've never done before. It's not that I suddenly love excitement, but I want to try new things for myself, not for anyone else's approval. The memory of her, of them, no longer commands me like it once did. It still hurts, it still stings when I think about that moment, but it no longer paralyzes me. I'm breathing on my own. I'm standing on my own 2 feet. And I'm done being angry. I'm done letting her overshadow my life. I kill the lights, head to bed. As I lie in the darkness, I realize my breathing is steady. My mind drifts, not to heartbreak, but to tomorrow. It's quiet, and it's lonely, but it's my space, and no one else's. That knowledge, strange as it is, feels like a small, precious victory. I won't smoke again. I won't set foot back in that moment of panic and betrayal. I'm finished with the ashes of the past. Tomorrow is about something else. Living, without guilt, without trying to deserve. And that finally is enough.